Hi guys, it's Mark, aka The Nerdy Punk, back with you again today for a new video. Today's video is actually kind of a special one. I'm going to be doing my top 10 movies of 2018, finally. It's been a while since 2018 ended. We are now into middle of January almost of 2019. And the reason that this video is kind of overdue is mainly due to life. Work/school is getting in the way. I am student teaching right now, which is actually why I'm kind of dressed up today. But I figured this is kind of a special video. Might as well leave the outfit on, the tie on for this one. So I'm probably going to go ahead and just jump right into this list. 2018 was a pretty good year for film overall, in my opinion. So let's hit it with the honorable mentions. The first honorable mention on this list is Tomb Raider. Now, Tomb Raider, in my opinion, is the best video game film adaptation in the past, like 10 years, maybe more. It's one of the best that I've seen of all time. I've heard a lot of mixed reviews for Tomb Raider. I really enjoyed it. I saw it in the theaters when this came out way back in like March, April, something like that. Alicia Vikander was fantastic as Lara Croft, and this film didn't really try to be more than it was. It was a fun video game action movie, and staying true to the video game theme, there's a lot of really unrealistic stunts in this film. Alicia Vikander makes incredible jumps and like leaps and stuff that no human being would survive from, let alone come up without a scratch. But I didn't feel like the film needed to be as realistic. It's a video game adaptation. You know, video games are like that. They're incredibly unrealistic. So yeah, this film didn't really have that big of a head. It didn't think it was more than it was, and it was executed very well. So I really enjoy it. Next up is Mary Poppins Returns. Now, Mary Poppins is not exactly a film that I expected to like. I'm not a huge fan of musicals. I do enjoy the occasional musical, but this is a musical, it's a kids movie, it's not really something that I was all that excited about. But I did hear of Lin-Manuel Miranda being cast, who's probably one of the best people associated with Broadway right now. Emily Blunt in the lead role, she was fantastic. I really loved the performances overall. I actually saw this with my aunt in theaters, and it was kind of cool because the original Mary Poppins was the first film that she ever saw in theaters as a kid, so it was cool to go to that film with her. And overall, for what it was very well done, and I can't wait to pick it up on Blu-ray. And now the final honorable mention is Ready Player One. Now, I didn't watch this film until toward the end of 2018. I was not excited for it based on the trailers. It just looked like kind of like a generic 80s nostalgia film. And I did really like the 80s nostalgia. There were tons of Easter eggs, really funny stuff, great music, a great soundtrack. But what really made this film very good is sorry, my English language is not very good. It hit really hard on the theme of escapism. How people use video games and TVs and TV shows, movies, music, any and everything to just kind of escape from their everyday life, to forget about their problems for a couple hours. And that is something that I found really powerful in terms of the themes of this film. And so yes, the action was good, the graphics were good, but that's the reason why Ready Player One was an exceptional film to me. So finally, let's get into the actual list. Starting with number 10, which is Halloween 2018. This was the David Gordon Green's new Halloween sequel. This is pitched as a direct sequel to the original film. It completely ignores the rest of the original series, which is like 7 films, that it just like throws away like they didn't never exist. And yeah, I feel like that's a little bit cheap, but at the same time, I really enjoyed the film, and I liked that they took a different approach to it. Overall, the film was really good, lots of good scares. There were a couple choices with the film that I didn't really like, but Michael Myers back, you know, The soundtrack was incredible, helmed by John Carpenter, the original director. And the fact that his blessing is on this series is very good to me. And one of the reasons why this film made it to my top 10 list, one of my favorite horror films of the year. Again, mixed reviews from most people, but I really enjoyed it. Number 9 is one of the best sci-fi movies I've seen in a while, and that's called Annihilation. This film came out back in like February. I went to see it in theaters, and it really bombed at the box office, which I can understand why. This is a heady, kind of slow, really thought-provoking sci-fi film, and I thought very original as well. And so, I understand why it didn't get the greatest reviews or the greatest reception at the box office. But overall, I know a lot of YouTubers have made reviews saying they love the film. I couldn't agree more. It's almost like a monster movie in some scenes. There's a few really good scenes, like action scenes, monster scenes. But overall, it's a film that made me think. It has a very ambiguous ending, and that's something that made the film exceptional for me. It really leaves things open to interpretation, and I love when films do that, when they have the courage to do that. Overall performances were fantastic, and I really enjoyed the heck out of Annihilation. I've now seen it twice. Alright, number 8 is the latest installment in the Rocky franchise. This is Creed 2. So Creed, the sequel to the original Creed from 2015, I think. It's also, in a way, a sequel to Rocky 4. It has a very similar plot, and it follows a similar storyline. Now, the Rocky movies, the Creed movies, they are incredibly formulaic. They follow pretty much the same formula every single movie, but it's a formula that is perfection, and it is absolutely perfected in this series. The films that Sylvester Stallone has directed have been fantastic. This film is directed by a young, up-and-coming director called, I believe his name is Stephen Caple Jr. Fantastic work on this film. From what I hear, the backstory to this film is very unorthodox, and there was a lot of issues in making this film. But the end product is fantastic. This is the film that got me into the Rocky series. I went to go watch this over Thanksgiving break, and then went home and I actually bought the Blu-ray, which I don't have in my hands, but I bought the Blu-rays of the entire Rocky series. So I went back and watched all the old Rocky films, loved every second of them. Sylvester Stallone is one of the most charismatic actors of all time, and Michael B. Jordan is very good as well. So again, Creed 2, one of the best in the series. Number 7. This is a film that is a sequel to one of my childhood favorites, and this is Incredibles 2. Incredibles 2 lives up to the hype. There was 12 years? No, it was 14 years in between films, I do believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I think the first one was 2004, and it's 2018. Just as good, if not better, than the original. Bob Odenkirk's voice performance was fantastic. I love Bob Odenkirk. Huge fan of Better Call Saul. And overall, the film, incredibly funny, very entertaining, reminded me of my childhood the entire way through. A great time at the movies. Moving on to number 6. This is one of the many Marvel films on this list, and without further ado, this is Black Panther. Black Panther, again, came out really early in the year. A lot of these films came out in February, March, April. But we had a lot of great films early on in this year. One of the better Marvel films of the entire Marvel CU. Incredible performances. Michael B. Jordan as Killmonger. One of the best Marvel villains, without a doubt. Up there with Thanos, for sure. A really believable villain. I could empathize with Michael B. Jordan's character in this film. And that's something that I couldn't praise enough, having an empathetic villain, which is so rare in comic book films. And then also, Chadwick Boseman, fantastic. It was really awesome to see like a star-studded, heavily praised African-American cast, which is really nice to see. It better get some Oscar love, this film. I think there's a lot of kind of like unorthodox films that don't usually win Oscars that should get some Oscar love. And if they don't, I'm going to be disappointed. Number 5. This was kind of like the first like gimmicky horror film of the year, and it worked out very, very well. And this is A Quiet Place. This is John Krasinski's directorial debut. Krasinski, of course, known for The Office, so a very hard left turn with this film, but it was very enjoyable. He was a fantastic director. This film, again, it's kind of gimmicky because the whole idea is that you cannot make a noise in this universe, this post-apocalyptic world. And they used the fact that they had very little dialogue at all throughout the entirety of this film, and it still felt very entertaining and not slow at all, is fantastic, and definitely a statement to the performances and the direction from Krasinski and then Emily Blunt. So much emotion in this film. There are a couple like really gut-wrenching scenes. I did find a few plot holes on first viewing, and I still think there are a few plot holes, but overall, fantastic horror film, one of the best of the year, by far. Number 4 is by far the best action film of this year, maybe the best action film in a very long time, and that is Mission Impossible Fallout. Everybody is lumping praise on this film. Everybody loved it. Again, some of the best action sequences I've seen in like 5 years in terms of like releases. The bathroom fight scene with Henry Cavill and Tom Cruise, incredible. Like, that's seriously probably the best action scene I've seen in a film that's been released in a very long time. Like, really high up there with one of my favorite action scenes of all time. It's just incredible that this is the 6th film in the series, and it's probably the best. That's very, very odd, but I think the Mission Impossible series and the characters really lend themselves well to sequels, especially since this was based off of a TV series, so there's a lot of material and storylines to work with. So I don't see this series ending anytime soon, as long as Tom Cruise, who's almost like 60, by the way. How the hell is this guy almost 60, yet he looks 35? Hollywood, man. But anyway, as long as Tom Cruise is still making badass movies, I'm sure these Mission Impossible movies will continue to be good and continue to be made. Moving on to number 3. Probably the most original film I've seen this year, and probably my favorite horror film. Well, definitely my favorite horror film of the year, and that is Hereditary. Hereditary, another one of those movies that's been like all the buzz around town, around like society and the world, and for good reason. This is the directorial debut from Ari Aster, which again just makes this film that much more impressive, that this is a directorial debut, and it's such a fantastic film. Every shot is like meticulous and chosen, and it's there for a reason. A really fucked up story with this film as well. Incredible performances. This, another one that better get some Oscar love. Toni Collette needs a Best Actress nomination for this film. She was fantastic. All the performances were great. A really just like eerie vibe throughout the entire film, and then it really gets like that whoa, holy shit moment towards the end of the film that makes it all pay off for me. Again, I can understand why people wouldn't like it. It is a slow-moving, slow burn of a film, but a fantastic movie in my opinion. Moving on to number 2, which this film was actually at number 1 for a while this year, but then I kind of reevaluated my list, and this found its way at number 2, and that is Deadpool 2. In my opinion, Deadpool 2, the best in the series, better than the first one in my opinion. The writing is just as good, if not better. The jokes are just as good, if not better. Performances just as good, if not better. The characters, in my opinion, are better in this one. I really enjoyed the addition of Cable. I love the kid's performance, Fire Fist. Overall, fantastic film. Of course, Ryan Reynolds back as Deadpool. The soundtrack is fantastic. I listen to the soundtrack like all the time this summer. So again, Deadpool 2, fantastic film. It was actually #1 for a while, and then I changed to my new #1 pick, which, drumroll please, without further ado, my #1 pick, #1 movie of 2018, Avengers: Infinity War. So, if you know me, I'm a comic book nerd. I love comic book films. I have since I was a kid. And Avengers: Infinity War is the best comic book film I've seen since The Dark Knight. Like, The Dark Knight is my favorite film of all time. It's what I compare every film against. Like, if I think it's a great film, does it hold up to The Dark Knight? I've seen Infinity War 4 times. Every time, it's just been incredible. It's got over a 2.5-hour run, but it doesn't feel like it. It feels like an hour and a half, because it's so engaging. Performance is fantastic. Josh Brolin as Thanos, out of this world. The writing was fantastic, had you on the edge of your seat, and the ending, just jaw-dropping. Like, obviously we know that, this isn't the final ending, that there's going to be a part 2, and we know that for the most part things are probably going to work out, but overall, an incredible, jaw-dropping ending. I remember just sitting there in the theater for like 5 to 10 minutes, just like, what the hell did they just do? A film that really could change the landscape of the Marvel Universe for a very long time. And Avengers 4 Endgame, just around the corner. It's got like 4 months till it's here, and I can't wait for that film. So again, Avengers Infinity War really changed the landscape of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. One of the best comic book films of all time for me. So of course it made its way to #1 on my list. So hope you guys did enjoy. That wraps up my top 10 movies of 2018. Again, hope you enjoyed the video. Go ahead and leave me in the comments down below what your favorite films of the year were. Did you make a list? I'd love to check it out if you made a list. Yeah. Overall, what were you obsessed with this year? What do you think about the Oscars coming up? Nominations, I think, are the end of the month this month. So definitely interested in seeing those and seeing the Oscar films in theaters. And look forward to an amazing 2019. Have an awesome year.